Hello, my dears. Here we are. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back. If you're coming back, welcome afresh if you're new. If you're here from accent videos and you're looking for accent training, head over to the @21accents channel, the 21 Accents channel. It's linked below as well. I may drop into different accents at different times, but that's just because that's who I am. I won't be teaching here. That's what that whole entire channel is for, to make it easier for you. Thank you to those who tune in. Thank you to those who comment. I do read them. They mean the most to me. And I have a new plan for how I can do that quicker. So look for that. I will be responding quicker. But here today, and thank you for those of you who've been tuning into the poems. It really means a lot to me. I love poetry. I love sharing that. Today I'm sharing a question that I've been tuning myself to each day and throughout the day that's very, very helpful for me anyway. And then a couple of metaphors in case they're helpful for you. So as always, take a deep breath, get cozy, and take or leave as you will. Take what I share here. If it catalyzes something else, if you have different words that make more sense to you, or a different way to share it, or another practice that's helpful to you, feel free to please share it in the comments, because you might help somebody else too. And if it doesn't resonate, and you can't translate it into something that does, then by all means, blessings on your way. I am in no way saying that this is the way, just sharing what's helpful for me in each moment. So here we go. My question: how am I called to engage with these times in the ways I can be most sustainably effective and the most fulfilled? We are each uniquely constructed. We have cultivated different skills and interests and gifts. And we're designed in different ways to make those gifts more effective, which means we are not made to all respond to these times in the same way. And I'm sharing this because I've been noticing, certainly in myself and also in others, it seems to really resonate, that one challenge of the bombardment of information, urgent information all the time, is that it can feel like we're supposed to be doing, everyone's pulling us in different directions. It can feel like we're supposed to be showing up in all the ways all the time. And so it's like, oh, I'm doing as much as I can to pay attention. And then, oh my God, you can't even. And then, oh, I'm doing as much as I can. And I'm like posting and, and I have to be here and I have to see it all. And then I'm do as much as I can. And then I just can't, it's an option. It's an option. If it's your jam, by all means, continue. For me, I will just read this little nugget from my journal, and then I'll share some more. I am of no use if I am tuned out, broken, or not seeing or thinking clearly. And I actually wrote burned out, but also if I'm tuned out. If I'm tuned out, if I'm burned out, if I am broken, I've maxed out, or I am not seeing or thinking clearly, I'm of no use anyway. Which means I am most effective service when I am functional, healthy, sound, coherent, and grounded in my body. And I know I've shared about this many times in different ways, about caring for the gift, caring for what it is that we're offering to any situation. Because if what I'm offering is reactivity, if what I'm offering is somebody who's frazzled and resentful, then I'm not helping anyway. Yep. So, and just like any loving creature, that means I need to be intentional and selective about what I consume. There's a reason it's called a feed. In order to show up well. It also means I need to know which kind of instrument or tool I am. What am I specifically designed for? Well, I'm an artist. I am so finely tuned into what other people are going through and how they talk and move and experience life that I can effectively write it and embody it in ways that feel authentic and moving to an audience. Being an actor, being a writer, all of those things. That's how I'm designed. I'm designed to have an incredibly, like, if you know sound and if you know a microphone, when you turn up the gain, it's called, then even being quiet is amplified a lot, yeah? My gain is tuned up to, I'll go to 11, right? It's tuned up so finely that you can fry those nerves. And I know there are many of you who are also built that way. Not everybody is. And there's no better or worse at all. I'm just saying this because people who are sensitive tend to get a lot of guff, and I know that a lot of y'all watch my channel, so I just want to offer a reframe here. If we're all building a house together, so here's where I'm gonna maybe pivot a little bit off of this. I have this metaphor for you. Imagine what we're doing is we're building a new home. I think the one thing everybody can agree on is that the current structures are not working, right? Some parts are working for some people, but really nobody's happy with how things are working, and so they're breaking down, which has been long foretold by all of the indigenous cultures, by the astrology, all of these things. But even if that's not something that you like to tune into, it's happening. So here we go. Even though for some, there's a fear that we don't have enough. And so there's a really loud need to have more, to make sure that they personally have more. And for others, there's an experience of that we have more than enough as long as we steward it properly. And as long as we welcome everybody and everybody's gifts to the table so that we can co-create new ways that we can't think of alone or with only a few people who are samey. So, but wherever your ideology is about why, we're in a process of the demolition of the current structures in order to rebuild new structures. So using this example of we're building a new home, I actually have notes today. Okay. So in that little metaphor, we need a demolition team. We can also think of them as the warriors. We need a cleanup and sorting crew. Can also think of them as the healers and the artists. We need architects, also the visionaries, and we need builders or teachers and workers. So I'll go into each of them. The demolition team is people who are designed, the best demolitionists, and we're in that phase right now, is people who are designed to break down what isn't working. Activists, politicians, protectors. People who might identify as warriors, who might use languages like fight, are uniquely suited to that kind of work. Not all are, but the most effective ones are. So that kind of has to happen first, although just like in a forest, things are breaking down all the time. All of these things always happen all the time, but it can also feel when we're in a collective experience like they're happening in sequence. So first the demolition crew comes in, breaks down what isn't working. Then the cleanup and sorting crew. Then we need people who are really good at sorting through the past and the present, healing and fixing what is beneficial from the past, mulching and processing everything that has broken down, artists who reflect what we have, who hold these things up and say, do we want to keep this? Do we want something else? Okay, that's a toss. This one's a keep. Okay. who can reflect what we have and who we are to better help us be conscious in our decision-making process. And medical professionals, people, healers, people here to help us be able to function, and especially to help that demolition crew who's out there, really doing a lot physically, to help them be able to stay sound and coherent and healthy and able to do their job. Yeah. Then we've got architects, visionaries. We need people who are specifically skilled at and passionate about integrating that info that comes from the breaking down process, from the reflecting process, and envisioning and designing new regenerative ways forward. So the extent to which we allow ourselves to mulch, to examine, to really witness who we are and who we've been, and to allow space for new ideas to come in about changing not just a little bit, but maybe a whole paradigm shift into a whole new way to be. So visionaries, architects are needed in that, yeah? And can be doing so right now. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Builders. Once we have the plans, once we have it, it's not the one thing is going to fit everybody, right? We'll have different people. We're restructuring what communities resonate with each other. And there might be this group over here is feeling like, yeah, well, we feel called to live this way and be with the earth and grow more of our own food and have permaculture and regenerative healing practices for the earth and for water. Other groups might choose to be very technological in their experience of life and to have very high tech situations and go in that direction. Others, there's so many different things. So I'm not advocating for one being the best or one fitting all, but that we're in that, that's needed as well. And then we've got builders. And builders are also teachers and workers. So we've got those who know how to construct, how to take those plans and build it, how to guide others through their wisdom and experience into those practical tasks of building something anew. Yeah, so that's just those are broad strokes areas. Hopefully something in there resonates for you. But what can be challenging in times like this is times like this, as if it's ever happened before. Okay, an opportunity of these times is to get very skilled at tuning specifically into, okay, with all of this that's going on, what in that is mine to do, even though maybe the demolition crew is really loud right now. There are other teams that aren't so loud, but they're still happening right now. And if you feel that you are uniquely suited to a demolition crew, pick one that really resonates with you, and then you'll feel right at home. And you'll know how to use the energy that keeps continually getting stirred up by all that's happening every day. You can take that energy, that fuel, and find your team, your community that has the ethos that you want. There are some great ones. There's a Revolutionary Love Project. There's Indivisibles. There's a lot of different ones that are varying degrees of inside the old system and varying degrees of completely outside the old system. So you could be part of that demolition team in any way. Yeah. If you are not really feeling like that's what you're uniquely suited to, but you feel like you should, maybe let go of feeling like you should, because there are these other places where we need you right now. We don't have to wait for things to be demolished before we can be healers. We need healers right now. We need artists right now holding up those mirrors and reflecting, taking who you are and molding reflections for people to see clearly what we're doing, what we've been doing, what's possible. Yeah. And healers. If you've got healing arts, if you feel called to really learn a craft, a way, maybe it's ancestral for you, maybe it's not, maybe it's a hybrid way. But it feels like, oh no, I'm abandoning the fight to go and learn this healing art. Am I being selfish? No, we need healers, and you can't do everything at once, and we don't need you to do everything at once. Be a healer. Be a healer. It's plenty, really. Counselors, body workers, energy healers, whatever you feel called to do, there's a place for you, and we need your essence. Yeah. Visionaries, architects. It might feel hard to go when you need space to allow, you need to create a very protected vacuum. You need to take in certain information, but you need to create that vacuum so that something entirely new can come in. And the extent to which you protect that space so that you are not overwhelmed and bombarded with what's going on right now, the extent to which you protect that space is the extent to which you can allow something entirely new to pour its way through you. It's also very much a time of coming together with people who resonate. So if you have fellows, or if you feel like there is somebody who can be in this visioning process with you, maybe you've done the visioning alone thing and you're good at it. And maybe the new way is to work with a partner or a team to come together and have something come through that you never could have done alone. Follow that. Make it clear. Put something clear out there to the universe, to the wide web, so that people who align with your vision can come in and add to it and transform it together. Yeah. So if you're a visionary, you are sensitive and you are not designed to be in the demolition crew, and that's okay. We need you to be visioning right now, because we got to be moving towards something or we have no hope. And people lose hope. They don't want to continue. Yeah. So this is your vision helps the demolition team or the warriors, if you identify in that way, know why they're doing it. Yeah. Builders, teachers, it might be hard to think about building something new right now when there's so much that needs to be attended to in terms of the demolition crew, but you have different skills. So if your skills are in those practical ways of, well, how can we implement systems that are by the community, for the community, and regenerative? How can we make this community garden that our school kids can grow food and feel proud of and feel connected to, and that can be part of the community, and have shared art space there for murals, or maybe you're connecting with some visionaries and you like those models, and then how to build it. So then there's that process of, well, this is the way we've been doing it. But in order to create this new vision, I might have to up level a little bit in my skills and in how I think things are possible. But you're uniquely suited to do that. You know what has worked and why. And so there might be some other ways coming to you for how to build effectively and regeneratively moving forward. Yeah. So I'll give a little example. And this is from my journal. Okay. So, if we're all building a house together, this was from like a few days ago, and we're all tools, then I am soft clay, basically porcelain. Anyone, have you ever worked with porcelain when it's pliable? Done ceramics. When you're doing ceramics, most clay has a grit to it. And so it has a certain amount of elasticity versus that the grit makes it less elastic, less stretchable and moldable in different ways, but it makes it hold up better. Porcelain is very, very finely ground, so it's very stretchy, but it can collapse if it's not, if it gets too fine, if it gets too thin. But porcelain is where you can get things like a very detailed, model what's the word? Statue of somebody, or you can get a vase or a bowl or something that you can eat out of, or a piece of art or something. And when it's fired, it becomes very hard because it's so finely ground that the particles are very close together. So it becomes very hard, but then it also can become brittle if it's thin. But then in that process, so that's porcelain. Now, in building a house, there are a lot of nails that need to get hammered into stuff. Important job. But if I think I am supposed to smack some nails into place because I hear a lot of clanging from the hammers over there, I'm going to be there a long time trying to get one nail to move an inch. I'll get all bent out of shape and absorb some of the residue of that nail because that's what I am made to do. I'll be exhausted and feel useless and ineffectual because I didn't stop to ask how I can be most effective given that I am porcelain. Resonate with anybody? Or maybe I'll make myself into the shape of a hammer and fire myself at high heat so that I'm hard and can't feel as delicately or be able to transform into new forms that we've never considered that could really help with another part of the house because I think I've got to be a hammer. So I do all that work. I am exhausted and stiff and as hard as I can possibly be. And maybe the hammers are like, finally, you're doing some real work. So I feel validated. And I see a nail and wham, it goes in. And I feel great. So I hit another one, wham, and a chip breaks off my head. But that's okay because the hammers have accepted me. Wham, another one. And now a stress fracture happens inside and I can't see it. And I can't really even feel it because I have made myself so hard, I am desensitized. Plus the hammers are hitting all day long and don't seem to be bothered about it. So I hit another one, wham, and my whole head crumbles. Well, fortunately, I am clay. And if I rest for months in water, eventually I will be able to gather my pieces and become mush again and reform into the state of being where I can be most able to create something new that can be used in this new house we're building together. But that's a long time. And yes, if I'm running a belief system where I have to break down in order to prove I am doing enough, then becoming a clay hammer is a solid way to do that. But I could also just get to know the benefits of being clay. I was going to say porcelain clay, but clay. There are so many kinds of clay, all beautiful. So I could also just get to know the benefits of being clay. I could talk with fellow clay. I could try stuff out and see what sticks. Imagine things clay is uniquely suited for that we've never created before and contribute that way. Because if a hammer tries to be clay, it's going to feel unsafe, too sensitive, too flexible, too changeable, too different. And if clay tries to be a hammer, it has to harden and give up being the things that make it most effective as clay. Warriors have to be hard and have armor. They make a lot of noise and face fear head on and always need help. Need those healers I was talking about. So it can be hard to remember that they are not the only way to affect change. In fact, when people do battle with warriors, they arm themselves too. They protect their vulnerabilities and harden their empathy. But when warriors go out to listen to music or experience art or chat in line at a grocery store, maybe they're a little more malleable and can actually entertain another perspective or empathize with someone they've othered before, or take in a little bit of healing from one of those healers, or hear a vision from one of the visionaries. Then I wrote, social media has largely become a battlefield. People come armed and hardened. But it is not the only arena to contribute to building the communities and world, the home that you dream of. Now, social media has its benefits. I'm not knocking it at all. I'm not. In fact, I have I'm getting an assistant to help me be able to still put my art out there, because these are things that have come to me because I've been really, really struggling with them. That age-old, well, I'm not curing cancer, or I'm not, a politician, so is what I do even important? Maybe you've had some form of that program running in your head. Yes, it is. Yes, it is important. We were not all made the same way. Thank goodness, because there's a lot to do. And half of that doing is being with what is. Because if I'm only doing, I'm not integrating. And I need to integrate in order to grow. And I need to grow in order to be able to rise to these times, these opportunities that we have to get really good at tuning into what's ours to do. So I'll leave you with this little metaphor of radio. And it may be that there are people watching on here who haven't ever had a radio before. I don't really know what it is. So here's what radio is. It's a thing with a dial. It's a box that can tune into different channels. And through the airwaves, even though they're invisible, and I know that energy sometimes seems like it's not real, but you trust Wi-Fi, and that's energy. I know it sometimes seems really weird that we think the planets are having any effect on us, but the tides are only moved because of the moon. And we're 70% water. So we know that the moon has an effect on the water. Anyway, we're a little smaller than the ocean, and it affects the ocean. So, yeah. So on the bandwidth of the radio, you can go to 97.3, you can go to 88 point, I don't know, all the bandwidths. You can go to 102.4, you can go to very specific channels, and there will be a station that is broadcasting certain kind of information. Might be classical music, it might be R&B, it might be a talk radio with a specific ideology. And all those things you have to tune the dial to exactly that frequency in order to pick up that channel. But all of them are happening all the time. Yeah. If you tune that dial a little bit to the side and you hit it right in between two stations, you might get a little bit of this music, a little bit of that talk show, and it's really hard to listen to because you might get and then you're trying to hear both, but you can't really understand either of them. Likewise, if you go to something that isn't a channel or it isn't near a channel, you're just hear static. Yeah. So when we're listening to a radio, we can pick. I'm just going to listen to this one thing, and I know I'm going to just tune to my favorite music, and I know I'm going to get my favorite music, and then I'm going to feel a certain way, because then my body that is made of energy is going to align with that frequency, and I'm going to feel my waves will be going in phase with this music, and everything just makes sense because I'm in coherence with that particular station. But you can also do a thing where you go like, just turn the dial and you get and that's like a social media feed, right? You don't get to, you maybe kind of get to choose who you follow, but also the algorithms are just going to throw stuff in there, and it's a whole potpourri all the time. So you don't really get to, you're like frequency changing all the time in your body. You're like classical, hard rock, or I love hard rock, but and so your nervous system is not designed to have to tune into all those different ways all the time. And we know this. There have been whole films about it. There have been all kinds of stuff about it. It's not to say that it's bad. It's just to call it what it is. So we can choose to be very intentional about when and how we go to places where we don't get to pick what we're tuning into. And again, we're all designed in different ways. Some of us are very sensitive to those things and some are not. So it'll have different effects on people, but just know that it will have an effect on your nervous system and on your coherence, your ability to do what you feel called to do, because it is designed to do that. It's designed to dysregulate you so that you will be in a reactive mode. Because you're most influenceable that way. If you're not coherent, if you're in a state of disruption, then you are most able to be influenced. There's a reason why it's the same reason why I keep my videos, I don't cut in that way that's like where I take all the air out, so it's just a constant purified stream of sound at you. I'm intentional about my pauses. I want you to be here with me and not just like consuming, in a little mind numb. Yeah. So again, maybe you choose, okay, I'm going to listen to, or I'm going to tune in to my favorite social media at this particular time, and then I'm going to hit the gym so that I can move it out of my body. And then I'm going to meditate on what's mine to do with that information that I just consumed at an amount that I am able to handle and then still be effective. Maybe you do a lot for a little while and then you take breaks, find a way that works for you. And of course, as always, take or leave any of this, but it can be very effective for sharing information. Just know what it is what I would say. When you're choosing how best to interact. And I'm also saying it because there's no shame in being very intentional about how you use those tools. You are not going to follow everything. You're not going to know everything that's going on. There will be billions of things going on that you care about all the time. So you have an opportunity, we have an opportunity right now to be the conductors of our own channel, to be very intentional about what we tune into and to know, I listened to a lot of that frequency. I'm going to balance it out with an equal amount of, all the regenerative, this meditation community that I can tune into. Every 7 p.m. London time, or it's 11 a.m. Pacific time, for 15 minutes, there is a worldwide meditation. I've mentioned it before, Pam Gregory. You don't even have to tune in on Zoom. From wherever you are, you can just connect up with the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are tuning in at that time to cultivate peace and love in the world, to soften the impact of this change that we're going through. You can tune your station to also community events that are uplifting, that get the rage, the grief, the things processed through your body so that you can be present. You can tune into places like Red Cross to volunteer, just giving platelets again, and volunteering, getting my training up for disaster relief, which was amazing. There are grassroots mutual aid networks. There's incredible mutual aid networks, Mutual Aid LA, but probably also wherever you are. So I would just say that even if you're on the demolition crew, you have an opportunity to balance out the destruction with regeneration for your own well-being, and so that you can feel most upheld and able to do your work. Yeah. Share your thoughts. I love you. I'm so grateful. We've been here like so long. Since 2008. Since before YouTube was Google, before there were channels, before there were anything. We've been here together. I've been here. Some of you have been here. Much, much love to you. We are so connected.